I want to start today by slowing us down just a little. You've probably been hearing the words deepfakes and synthetic media more and more lately. In headlines, online posts, maybe even in conversations that feel urgent or uneasy. And when a term shows up everywhere like that, it's easy to feel like we're already behind or like something important is moving faster than we can keep up with. So before we talk about anything else, I want to be really clear about what we're doing here today. This episode is not about panic. It's not about worst case scenarios. And it's not about jumping ahead to everything these technologies might be used for. Today is about understanding what we're actually talking about. Because no matter how complex a situation becomes, and this one is complex, solid ground always starts in the same place. Knowing what something is, what it isn't, and what we do and do not mean when we use certain words. That approach may feel almost too calm for a topic like this. Some people mistake clarity and patience for being out of touch with risk. I don't. I see this as the most responsible place to begin. When we skip this step, when we rush past what something is and jump straight to fear, outrage, or predictions, we end up arguing about different things without realizing it. We react to headlines instead of reality, and that makes us easier to mislead, not harder. So in this episode, we're going to do something very intentional. We're going to talk about what deepfakes and synthetic media actually refer to, the broad categories these terms cover, and why those distinctions matter before we go any further. We are not going to cover how to detect deepfakes today. We're not going to dive into psychological manipulation. And we're not going to unpack elections, scams, or future threats, not because those things aren't serious, but because they deserve their own space. Those conversations are coming, just not yet. Think of this episode as the foundation, the part where we make sure we're all standing on the same ground before we build anything on top of it. If you're feeling curious, that's exactly where I hope you are. If you're feeling uneasy, that makes sense, and we'll move carefully. For now, let's start with the simplest and most important question. What are we actually talking about when we say deepfakes?
From anyone, we stand American together.
To understand why deepfakes matter, we need to start with a shift that's easy to miss, because it happened gradually. For most of modern history, media worked in one basic direction. A camera recorded something that already happened, a microphone captured a voice that was actually spoken, a video showed a real event involving real people at a real moment in time. Even when media was edited, enhanced, or staged, it still began with something that existed in the real world. But that's no longer the case. Today, media can be created without a real-world event ever taking place. Images can be generated without a camera. Video can be produced without an actor or a scene. Voices can be created without a person speaking. And that change, more than any single tool or platform, is what makes this moment different. The issue isn't realism. The issue is detachment from reality. When media no longer requires a real event as its starting point, we lose one of the quiet assumptions we've relied on for a long time. The idea that seeing or hearing something means something happened. That doesn't automatically mean deception, and it doesn't automatically mean danger, but it does mean the ground has shifted. And once you see that shift clearly, a lot of the confusion around terms like synthetic media and deepfakes starts to make more sense. Because deepfake isn't the starting point. It's part of something broader, and that broader category is what we need to understand next. So now that we've named the shift from recording reality to creating media without a real-world event, we need a term that covers all of that. That's where synthetic media comes in. Synthetic media is an umbrella term. It refers to content that is created, altered, or assisted by artificial intelligence systems. That can include a lot of different things. It can be images that are generated from a text prompt. It can be video that's created or modified by AI. It can be audio, including voices that are generated without a person speaking. And it can include text that's written or heavily assisted by AI systems. What matters here is not the format, it's the process. Synthetic media doesn't require a camera, a microphone, or a real event as its starting point. The system generates the content based on patterns it has learned, not on something that actually happened in front of a lens or a mic. And this is an important stabilizer, so I want to say it clearly. Synthetic does not automatically mean deceptive. Many uses of synthetic media are neutral. Some are creative, some are practical, and some are genuinely helpful. Artists use it to experiment, businesses use it for design and production, educators use it for visualization and explanation. Everyday people use it out of curiosity, convenience, or creativity. In this episode, when we talk about synthetic media, we're not talking about intent. We're simply naming the category. Because once we understand that synthetic media is a broad landscape with many uses and many motivations, it becomes much easier to see why only one small part of it causes serious concern. And that's where the term deepfake comes in. So let's slow down here because this word gets misused constantly. When we say deepfake, we're not talking about everything fake or misleading online. We're talking about something very specific. A deepfake is not just something misleading online. A deepfake is a specific kind of manipulation. A deepfake uses artificial intelligence to make it look or sound like a real person said or did something they never actually said or did. Not edited, not clipped, not taken out of context. A deepfake creates a false performance and makes it feel real. That's the line. Now, this is where confusion creeps in because a lot of things get called deepfakes that aren't. For example, if a video is real but it's cropped to remove context, that's misleading, but it's not a deepfake. If a clip is slowed down to make someone sound impaired, that's manipulation, but it's not a deepfake. If a real video is paired with a false caption, that's deception, but it's not a deepfake. Those are often called cheap fakes, low-tech edits that rely on dishonesty, not artificial intelligence. The content itself is real, the presentation is not. A deepfake crosses a different boundary. With deepfakes, AI is used to alter or generate the person themselves. That can look like face-swapped videos of public figures, fabricated footage of politicians saying things they never said, AI-generated people who look real but don't exist at all. At that point, we're no longer arguing about context or interpretation. We're dealing with fabricated reality. And it's not just visual. AI can now clone voices too. With only a few seconds of audio, a system can reproduce someone's tone, cadence, and inflection. That's how scams like these work. Mom, I'm in trouble phone calls. Fake robocalls using a candidate's voice, impersonated executives authorizing money transfers. Your brain recognizes the voice and reacts before logic has time to intervene. Not all deepfake technology is used maliciously, but it only takes one bad actor to weaponize it. Truth check. So when we use the word deepfake, we need to mean something specific. Not everything fake, Not everything misleading, not everything AI. A deepfake is when technology puts words or actions into a real person's mouth or body and makes the lie feel authentic. That distinction matters. If we don't understand what kind of content we're dealing with, whether something is real, manipulated, or entirely fabricated, we won't know when to slow down or how cautious we actually need to be. And that's only part of the picture. The next question isn't just what this content is, it's who is creating it and why. Those motivations matter just as much as the technology itself. Another thing that often gets lost in conversations about deepfakes and synthetic media is who is actually using these tools. Because when people hear about AI-generated media, it's easy to picture a single kind of actor, usually someone malicious, hidden, or powerful. But the reality is more ordinary and more complex than that. These tools aren't confined to one group. They exist across an entire ecosystem, and they're used for very different reasons. Understanding that ecosystem matters because it helps us separate the technology itself from how and why it's being used. So let's zoom out and look at the landscape. First, there are creators and artists. Some people use synthetic media tools to experiment, tell stories, or explore ideas that would be difficult or impossible to create otherwise. That can include visual artists generating images, filmmakers testing concepts, musicians experimenting with sound, creators blending real and synthetic elements for entertainment. In these cases, the goal isn't deception. It's expression, creativity, or exploration. Then there are businesses and media producers. Companies use synthetic media for advertising, design mock-ups, training videos, localization and translation, voiceovers, and visual assets. In many cases, synthetic media is simply faster, cheaper, or more flexible than traditional production. Again, the intent here usually isn't to mislead, it's efficiency. There are also everyday users, people experimenting out of curiosity, trying tools they've heard about, making things for fun, humor, or novelty. Sometimes that experimentation is harmless. Sometimes people don't fully think through how realistic their creation might appear once they leave a private space and enter a public one. That doesn't automatically make them bad actors, but it does show how easily synthetic content can move beyond its original context. And then there are bad actors. This is a group that tends to dominate headlines, and for good reason. Bad actors use the same tools as everyone else, but with very different goals. What separates them isn't access to technology. The same tools are used across creative, commercial, and personal spaces. What separates them is intent. That can include scammers using voice cloning for impersonation and fraud, often relying on urgency, familiarity, or authority to bypass skepticism. Another group using synthetic media tools are trolls and content farms. A troll isn't just someone being rude online. In this context, trolls are accounts, sometimes individual, sometimes coordinated, that post content designed to provoke emotional reactions, anger, outrage, ridicule, or fear. The goal isn't always to convince people of something. Often it's simply to stir conflict, derail conversations, or amplify division. Content farms are different but related. A content farm is an operation, sometimes run by people, sometimes heavily automated, that produces large volumes of attention-grabbing content as cheaply and quickly as possible. Their incentive is usually financial. Attention equals clicks. Clicks equal ad revenue. Accuracy, nuance, or long-term impact usually aren't part of the calculation. Synthetic media makes this easier by lowering the cost of creation. More content faster, more realism, less effort. And once that content spreads, it often takes on a life of its own, detached from whoever originally made it. There are also political actors who use synthetic media strategically. That can include domestic political actors attempting persuasion or suppression, not only by spreading outright lies, but by selectively amplifying, distorting, or fabricating content to influence participation, perception, or trust. And it can include foreign governments spreading disinformation, not necessarily to promote a specific candidate or policy, but to erode confidence in institutions, increase confusion, and weaken social cohesion over time. The technology isn't different, the intent is, and that distinction matters. Right now, we're living in a moment where synthetic media isn't rare anymore. It's cheap, it's fast, and it's good enough to fool people who are paying attention, not just people who aren't. And that matters because this technology didn't arrive into a vacuum. It entered a culture that has been shifting for a long time, away from patience, away from good faith disagreement, and away from the idea that people across the aisle or across any deep divide are still people. Politics didn't create that shift. It just put it on a public stage. That combination is not accidental, and it's not harmless. Here's the key shift that's happening. For most of our lives, misinformation usually relied on words, articles, posts, headlines, claims you could at least in theory read closely and question. Synthetic media changes that. Now misinformation can look real, sound real, and feel emotionally convincing before our thinking brain has time to catch up. And when something feels real, we don't stop to ask, is this accurate? We ask, how do I respond? That's a problem, because once reaction comes first, truth comes last. This matters right now because synthetic media lowers the barrier to manipulation. You no longer need access to a newsroom or a studio or insider connections. All you need is a prompt and a motive. And those motives can be financial, political, ideological, or just attention-seeking. The result is an information environment where authentic voices and manufactured ones compete on equal footing, and sometimes the fake ones are more compelling. And here's the part we don't talk about enough. Synthetic media doesn't just spread false information. It erodes confidence in real information. When people start saying, you can't trust anything you see anymore, that doesn't make us wiser. It makes us cynical and disengaged and easier to manipulate in the long run. Because when everything is suspect, people stop checking and start choosing whatever feels right to them. Hard to admit, right? Me too. But when confusion replaces curiosity, we don't become harder to fool. We become easier. Truth check. This is why the timing matters. Not 5 years from now, not in some hypothetical future. Now. Because elections, emergencies, scandals, and breaking news are exactly the moments when synthetic media does the most damage. Not by convincing everyone of one lie, but by flooding the space so thoroughly that clarity never gets a foothold. And once clarity disappears, trust follows. But here's the grounding truth I want to leave you with. This episode isn't about panic, and it's not about telling you to distrust your eyes and ears. It's about recognizing that the environment has changed and that our habits have to change with it. The good news? Understanding what synthetic media is and what it isn't gives us back leverage. Because once we name the terrain, we can navigate it. And that's exactly what we'll keep doing in the deepfake and synthetic media episodes ahead. Before we move forward, I want to pause and name the role this episode plays in the deepfake and synthetic media series. Today was about naming the landscape. We defined what deepfakes and synthetic media actually are. We talked about why they exist, and we zoomed out just enough to understand how they fit into the broader information environment we're all living in now. But this is only the beginning, because knowing what something is doesn't automatically protect us from how it's used. So here's where this series on deepfakes and synthetic media goes next. In the next episode, we're going to move from technology to psychology. We'll look at why deepfakes work on the human brain, even when we know they exist. Why familiarity, emotion, and repetition can override logic, and how deepfakes exploit the same psychological shortcuts we talked about in another episode titled Why We Don't Fact Check. The upcoming episode is about manipulation, not gadgets. After that, we'll get practical. We'll slow things down and walk through how to detect deepfakes in real life, not with expensive tools or technical jargon, but with questions and cues that regular people can actually use. Not to turn you into a forensic expert, but to help you spot when something deserves pause instead of instant reaction. And finally, we'll zoom out again to the future. We'll talk about what deepfakes mean for elections, scams, trust, and information warfare, not in a fear-based way, but in a grounded civic one. Because the goal of this series is not to make you suspicious of everything. It's to help you stay clear-headed in a world that increasingly benefits from confusion. We don't actually need to understand everything happening online to move responsibly through it. What we need is the ability to notice when something feels off and the willingness to pause before reacting. That's the skill we're building here. Truth check. Before we talk about what to do in a world with deepfakes and synthetic media, I want to pause on what understanding alone already gives us. This episode didn't teach you how to detect deepfakes. It didn't hand you tools or checklists, and it didn't ask you to be suspicious of everything you see or hear. What it did was something quieter and just as important. It gave us language. It gave us categories. It helps separate what is synthetic from what is deceptive, from what is intentionally manipulative. And that matters because confusion is one of the easiest things to exploit. When everything feels blurry, we either panic or we shut down. But when we can name what we're looking at, even roughly, we regain our footing. We don't have to know the answer yet. We just have to know when something deserves a pause. Clarity doesn't eliminate risk, but it gives us back the ability to choose instead of being pushed. That's agency. Truth check. And agency is what keeps us from being pushed into reaction mode. That's the mindset this Deepfakes and Synthetic Media series of episodes is building step by step. So here's the reflection I want to leave you with. You don't need to become an expert in AI to navigate this moment responsibly. You need awareness before action, context before conclusions, and the willingness to slow down when something feels emotionally charged. That's not weakness. That's how we stay grounded in an environment that benefits from speed and confusion. This episode isn't asking you to explain anything yet or share examples in the comments. First comes noticing, then comes naming. As you try the practice challenge this week, you might start to notice moments when something pulls you in fast. If that happens, you're welcome to come back and share what you noticed. We'll build this skill together. Here's the practice challenge for this episode, and honestly, it might be the simplest one we've ever done. I don't want you to analyze anything yet. I don't want you to fact check. I don't even want you to decide whether something is real or fake. I just want you to notice when something pulls you in fast. A video, a clip, a headline, a face that feels convincing, a moment that sparks curiosity, anger, fear, or urgency, and instead of sharing it, instead of reacting to it, Instead of deciding what it means, just pause. That's it. Most of the influence happens before we ever evaluate accuracy. It happens in that first split second when something feels real enough to move us. And once we're reacting, we usually don't stop to evaluate accuracy at all. Truth check. So this week, the only thing to try is the pause. Not to be perfect, not to catch everything, just to notice the moment where you could slow down, even if you don't, because pause is both the easiest step to explain and the hardest one to live out. And practicing it, even imperfectly, is how the rest of this series will actually work. This channel isn't about censoring or forcing people to agree. It's about taking the time to listen, understand different perspectives, and approach discussions with thoughtful reflection together. I welcome different views, but I expect respect. Disagree, that's great. Explain why. Have a different angle, share it. Here, we use our differences as strengths, not weapons. And if you'd like a little extra help shaping your reply, I've linked my 3 Ps in Action comment edition in the description. It's the same process I use myself to pause, pinpoint truth, and proceed with purposeful forethought. Don't worry about reading all this here. The full list of sources is in the description and on my site, american-together.com. I share them because checking sources matters just as much as checking headlines. Understanding what we mean by deepfakes and synthetic media is not the end of the process, but it is where responsible action begins. And that's exactly why we're starting here. Hit the thumbs up, share it with a friend, and join the conversation in the comments. Together, we're not just watching, we're building something. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. Remember, pause, pinpoint truth, proceed with purposeful forethought. Join the conversation. See you next time.